The candles flickered against my face. 58 tiny flames casting shadows across the mahogany dining table I'd inherited from Grandma Rose. The same table where I'd celebrated every birthday for the past 12 years, ever since Mom and Dad moved into my Upper East Side brownstone. "Make a wish, sweetheart." Mom's voice carried that practiced sweetness she used when neighbors were watching. I closed my eyes, about to blow out the candles, when I heard Dad's chair scrape against the hardwood. The sound made my stomach clench sharp, deliberate, like fingernails on glass. "Actually, Lillian, before you do that," his voice cut through the birthday song humming in my head, "we have something to discuss." I opened my eyes. The envelope in Mom's hands wasn't wrapped in the usual floral paper. Plain white. Businesslike. Her manicured fingers held it like a weapon. "We don't want to buy you anything this year, Lillian." Mom's whisper was ice-cold honey. "We want something else. For you to disappear." The candles kept burning. Wax dripping onto my grandmother's lace tablecloth. 58 small fires illuminating the faces of the two people who'd raised me, fed me, told me they loved me for nearly 6 decades. "What?" The word came out strangled. Dad leaned back in his chair, my chair, the one I'd bought when I purchased this house with my own money. "The house papers are in that envelope, along with a suggestion about where you might relocate." My phone buzzed against the table. Text message from my brother Marcus. "It's for the best, Lil. They need the space." The room tilted. $3 million. That's what this brownstone was worth according to last month's property assessment. The same house I'd invited them into when Dad's heart attack left them drowning in medical bills. The same house where I'd nursed them back to health, paid their prescriptions, their groceries, their cable bills. "You want me to sign over my house?" My voice sounded foreign, distant. "On my birthday." Mom's smile never wavered. "It's really too much space for one person, don't you think? And at your age, wouldn't a nice assisted living facility be more appropriate?" The envelope slid across the table toward me. Inside, I could see typed pages through the translucent paper. Legal documents. They'd already drawn up the papers, already chosen my facility, already planned my disappearance. I just smiled. 10 minutes later, I watched from my bedroom window as Mom frantically dialed her phone in the garden below. Dad paced beside the fountain, his face red with panic. The sound of sirens grew louder with each passing second. You see, what my loving parents didn't know was that I'd been recording every conversation in this house for the past 6 months. Ever since I'd overheard Mom on the phone with Marcus, discussing my deteriorating mental state and the necessity of intervention. Elder abuse, financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit fraud. That was the moment I knew justice wouldn't come from family loyalty or forgiveness. It would come from my own hands. And I was just getting started. The silence after their words felt like drowning in ice water. I stood there, birthday candles still flickering, watching my parents' faces as if seeing them for the first time. But really, I was seeing myself every sacrifice, every choice, every moment I'd chosen them over me. The memories came flooding back like a broken dam. Flash. October 2019. Dad's business crumbling. I'm at the bank, signing my name on a second mortgage. The pen feels heavy in my hand. "It's just temporary," he'd said. The loan officer's eyes held pity I pretended not to see. Flash. Christmas morning, 2020. I'm in the kitchen at 5 a.m., stuffing a 20-pound turkey I can barely afford. Mom's arthritis is acting up, so I do everything. The receipt from Whole Foods, $847, crumpled in my apron pocket. My own Christmas dinner would be leftover takeout. Flash. March 2021. Hospital hallway. The smell of disinfectant and fear. Dad's heart attack. I'm holding insurance forms, my signature covering page after page. Co-pays, deductibles, physical therapy. My savings account balance dropping like a stone. Flash. Last Christmas. I'm wrapping gifts under the tree I bought. In the living room I painted, wearing a smile that feels painted on too. Mom's laughing on the phone with Marcus. "She's so generous," she says. "Almost too generous, if you know what I mean." I carried this house when his business faltered. I gave up my apartment in Queens, the cute one-bedroom with exposed brick I'd loved so they could keep their dignity. My name is on the deed, but apparently not on the keys they're ready to hand to strangers. The candles had burned lower now, wax pooling on Grandma Rose's tablecloth. The same tablecloth Mom had insisted on using tonight. For tradition, she'd said. Now I wondered if it was just another prop in their performance. I stepped outside onto the front stoop, my breath fogging in the October air. The city sounds felt muted, distant. Cars honking on Madison Avenue. The distant rumble of the subway. Life continuing while mine collapsed in real time. That's when I remembered the night last month. I'd come downstairs for water and heard Mom on the phone. Her voice different, calculating, cold. She was talking to Marcus, laughing about something. She signed the power of attorney papers without even reading them, Mom had whispered. She trusts us completely. It'll be so easy. I'd thought she was talking about managing Dad's medications. How naive I'd been. My legs felt shaky as I walked back inside. The house, my house, felt foreign now. Every photograph on the mantel, every piece of furniture I'd chosen, every bill I'd paid in silence. Had any of it been real? The gratitude? The family dinners? The I love yous? I believed that love was unconditional, that family meant forever, that sacrifice was its own reward. But it was all just a performance, and I was the only one who didn't know I was acting. Mom's phone sat abandoned on the kitchen counter, screen still glowing. She must have forgotten it in her rush to discuss my relocation with Dad. The text message thread with Marcus was still open, and my heart stopped. Marcus. Transfer set for next Monday. Power of attorney finalized Friday. Mom. Good. The facility in Connecticut has an opening. She'll adjust eventually. Marcus. And if she doesn't sign willingly? Mom. Competency hearing. Dr. Martinez oveshme favor. My knuckles went white around the stair rail. They hadn't just planned to steal my house. They'd planned to have me declared mentally incompetent if I refused. The birthday candles finally flickered out one by one. 58 years of life, reduced to puddles of wax on my grandmother's tablecloth. But in the darkness, something else ignited, something they hadn't counted on. And Monday was still 5 days away. Monday was still 5 days away, but I couldn't wait 5 minutes. My hands were still trembling from reading those texts, my heart hammering against my ribs like a caged bird. I needed to know how deep this betrayal went. I'm just going to get some air, I told them, forcing my voice to stay steady. Mom and Dad were already cleaning up the dining room, moving with the efficient precision of people who'd just completed a business transaction. Instead of going outside, I slipped into Dad's study. The room smelled like old leather and betrayal. If betrayal had a scent, it would be the musty combination of legal documents and lies. The manila folder sat right there on his desk, not even hidden. They were that confident I'd never suspect. My fingers shook as I opened it. Bank letters from Chase Manhattan, a notarized document with signatures I didn't recognize. A certified mail receipt dated last Tuesday, the day I'd been visiting my friend Sarah, the day they'd told me they were running errands. The deed to my house, but the signature wasn't mine. It was close practiced, careful, but the L in Lillian curved wrong, too sharp. I'd been signing my name for 58 years. I knew every loop, every flourish. This wasn't my hand. My stomach dropped through the floor. They'd forged my signature. This wasn't just manipulation anymore. This was felony fraud. I spotted a USB drive tucked inside a coffee cup, Dad's old NYU mug, the one I'd bought him for Father's Day 20 years ago. My hands moved without conscious thought, pocketing the drive before my brain could catch up. Back in my bedroom, I plugged the drive into my ancient laptop. The screen filled with PDFs, documents I'd never seen, contracts I'd never signed, emails between Marcus and someone named Jay. Patterson, attorney at law. Marcus to Patterson. Mother's mental state deteriorating. Needs intervention. Power of attorney essential for family protection. Patterson to Marcus. Competency hearing can be arranged. Medical testimony required. Know anyone at Presbyterian? Marcus to Mom. Dr. Martinez will testify she's showing signs of dementia. $15,000 consultation fee. $15,000. They were paying a doctor to lie about my mental health. But the voicemail was the worst. Marcus's voice, casual and cold. We'll get her comfortable and out of the way. The Connecticut facility costs $8,000 a month, but the house will sell for $3.2 million. Even after expenses, we're looking at a $2.8 million profit. She'll never know the difference. I sat there in the dark, laptop screen glowing, listening to my son calculate my worth like a commodity. $2.8 million profit. $8,000 monthly storage fee for his inconvenient mother. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely dial Emma's number. Emma Rodriguez had been my lawyer for 15 years, handled my will, my house purchase, every major legal decision. Emma, it's Lillian, I need help. What's wrong? You sound terrible. My family, they're trying to steal my house. They've forged documents. They're planning to have me declared incompetent. Slow down, are you sure? I have evidence. Recordings, emails, forged signatures. Emma's voice sharpened. Don't confront them yet. First thing tomorrow, we freeze all your accounts. Change all passwords. How much evidence do we have? 43 minutes of recordings, bank documents, text messages. 43 minutes? That's enough to send them to prison for elder abuse and fraud. A knock at my door made my blood freeze. Mom, you okay in there? Marcus's voice. When had he arrived? I slammed the laptop shut. Fine, honey, just tired. Mind if I come in? I brought Chinese food from that place on 86th you like. My son. Standing outside my door with takeout and a smile, while his voicemails about my deteriorating mental state echoed in my ears. Of course, sweetheart. Marcus entered carrying bags that smelled like sweet and sour pork. He looked so normal, so loving. The same boy who'd once brought me dandelions and called them birthday flowers. The same man who was now calculating how to warehouse me in Connecticut. Dad told me about the birthday talk, he said casually, setting the food on my dresser. I know it's a big change, but this facility is really nice. They have art classes. Art classes. Like I was 5 years old. That's thoughtful of you to research it, I managed. He actually hugged me while planning my imprisonment. We just want what's best for you, Mom. You know that, right? Of course, honey. After he left, I opened my laptop again. My email had a new message. Subject: Security alert, device access. Someone had accessed the USB drive remotely. The timestamp showed 9:47 p.m., 15 minutes after I'd left the study. They weren't just stealing my house. They were watching me discover it. Act 4. Silent counterattack, turning point. They were watching me, monitoring my every move, calculating their next step while I supposedly spiraled toward their carefully orchestrated breakdown. But they'd made one critical error. They thought I was the same woman who'd signed documents without reading them, who'd trusted blindly, who'd prioritized their comfort over my own survival. That woman died the moment I read those texts. I didn't explode. I didn't confront. I didn't give them the satisfaction of witnessing my pain. Instead, I became small, precise, surgical. Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. While they slept in the bedrooms I'd furnished, I sat at my kitchen table with Emma Rodriguez. The diner on 81st Street was perfect, dark corners, cash-only policy, clientele that minded their own business. Emergency motion filed, Emma whispered, sliding papers across the scratched formica. All accounts frozen as of 8 a.m. They can't touch a penny without court approval. I signed my name, my real signature on document after document. Restraining orders, asset protection filings, elder abuse complaints, each signature a small act of war. The USB evidence is gold, Emma continued. 43 minutes of recorded conspiracy, forged signatures, banking fraud. We're looking at felony charges across the board. I pulled out my lipstick, the one with the tiny recorder inside, a gift from my paranoid friend Sarah who'd insisted I might need it someday. There's more. Wednesday. I cataloged everything, time-stamped every email, cross-referenced every forged document. My dining room table became a war room, manila folders organized by date, crime, and potential sentence. I won't cry. I will calculate. And this time I will win. Thursday evening, I attended the Central Park Conservancy fundraiser. Mom was scheduled to speak about community generosity and caring for our elders. The irony burned like acid in my throat. I sat in the back row, watching her smile at donors while describing the importance of family values. She wore the pearls I'd bought her last Christmas, the dress I'd paid for when her arthritis made shopping difficult. Some families are blessed with children who understand sacrifice, she told the applauding crowd. Who know that caring for aging parents is both duty and privilege. The woman beside me whispered, "She's so fortunate. My mother-in-law makes everything about herself. If only they knew." I didn't cause a scene. I didn't expose her. I simply Saturday watched. Memorized every lie that spilled from her lips. After the event, I followed her to the parking garage, not to confront, to record. The lipstick device captured her phone call to Marcus perfectly. The fundraiser went well. Dr. Martinez confirmed his testimony for Friday. We can proceed with the competency hearing Monday morning. Friday morning. I should have been preparing for my own mental evaluation. Instead, I was transferring assets to accounts they'd never heard of, changing locks they'd never expected, gathering evidence they'd never imagined existed. My coffee tasted different, sharper. Like victory brewing in ceramic cups. I drove past the house, my house, one final time. The for sale sign wasn't up yet, but I could see the inspection van in the driveway. They were moving fast. Too fast. On the train home from Emma's office, my phone buzzed. News alert from the Gazette's online edition. Local philanthropist inspires community giving. There was Mom's photo, standing in front of my brownstone. The caption read, "Helen Matthews, whose generous daughter provided the family residence, discusses the importance of intergenerational support. My generous daughter, my family residence." The article mentioned a pending inspection that would expedite the property transfer for charitable purposes. They weren't just stealing my house, they were spinning it as philanthropy, my forced institutionalization as a heartwarming family story. Time was accelerating. The inspection was scheduled for Monday morning, the same day as my competency hearing. But as the train carried me through the tunnels beneath Manhattan, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Cold, calculating, unshakable peace. They thought I was a chess piece in their game, a pawn to be moved, manipulated, then removed from the board. They didn't know this chessboard was built by me. Every square, every rule, every possible outcome, I'd constructed it all over 58 years of careful planning. And Monday morning, they were about to discover who was really playing chess, and who had been playing checkers all along. Monday morning arrived like Judgment Day, crisp and unforgiving. While they prepared for my competency hearing, the one designed to declare me mentally unfit, I was already 3 moves ahead on a chessboard they'd never learned to play. The plan executed with surgical precision. No fireworks, no melodrama, just the sound a lock makes when it finally catches. At 8 a.m., Emma filed a lien against my own property for $240,000 in unpaid caregiver services and loans. Every mortgage payment I'd made, every medical bill I'd covered, every grocery run and prescription pickup, documented, itemized, legally bulletproof. By 9 a.m., the evidence package was in the hands of Sarah Chen, investigative journalist for the Manhattan Herald. Sarah specialized in elder abuse cases. She'd been waiting for a story this clean, this compelling, this perfectly documented. At 9:30, probate court received a 47-page filing detailing financial fraud, elder abuse, and conspiracy. Judge Martinez, not the paid-off doctor, but Judge Patricia Martinez, would be very interested in reviewing fabricated competency evaluations. I returned to the house one final time. The birthday envelope still sat on the dining room table, exactly where they'd left it after delivering my eviction notice. I slipped a thumb drive inside a copy of everything. Every recording, every forged signature, every calculated betrayal. Then I slid it back to Mom's place setting. "No fireworks," I whispered to the empty room. "Just justice." The Central Park Conservancy fundraiser buzzed with Manhattan's finest. Crystal glasses clinked, donors wrote generous checks. Mom stood at the podium in her borrowed elegance, preparing to speak about family values while planning to institutionalize her daughter. "Good evening," she began, her voice carrying across the ballroom. "Tonight, we celebrate the bonds that make us stronger, the sacrifices we make for those we love." I watched from the back, my expression unreadable. She had no idea I was there. "Some of us are blessed with children who understand that caring for family requires difficult decisions," she continued. "Sometimes love means making choices others might not understand." The legal courier appeared like an avenging angel. Navy suit, briefcase, certified documents that would shatter her performance mid-sentence. "Helen Matthews?" His voice cut through her speech like a blade. The ballroom fell silent. 200 faces turned toward the interruption. Certified delivery, temporary restraining order, asset seizure, and criminal complaint for elder abuse and fraud. Mom's champagne glass slipped from her fingers. Crystals shattered against marble floors, each shard reflecting the horror spreading across her face. The room erupted in whispers. Phones emerged. Cameras clicked. "This must be some mistake," she stammered into the microphone. "I don't understand." "Ma'am, you'll need to come with us," the court officer said, appearing beside the courier. "There's also a warrant for document seizure at your current residence." Marcus materialized from the crowd, his face ashen. "Mom, don't say anything." "Where's the lawyer?" "Which lawyer?" the officer asked pleasantly. "James Patterson? He's being investigated by the state bar for fraudulent competency proceedings. His license was suspended an hour ago." The words hit like dominoes falling. Patterson suspended. Marcus exposed. Mom, standing on stage in her borrowed pearls, revealed as exactly what she was: a thief caught mid-performance. I walked closer, my heels clicking against marble like a countdown timer. "For 58 years I believed you loved me," I said, my voice carrying clearly in the stunned silence. "Now I know the difference between love and performance." Mom's eyes found mine across the ballroom. Recognition, terror. The slow, dawning realization that the woman she'd planned to institutionalize had been recording every conversation, documenting every lie, building an unbreakable case while they celebrated their coming victory. "Lillian, sweetheart, this is all a misunderstanding," she whispered, but the microphone caught every desperate word. "No misunderstanding." I pulled out my phone, touched the recording app. Marcus's voice filled the ballroom speakers. "We'll get her comfortable and out of the way. The house will sell for $3.2 million. She'll never know the difference." The crowd's collective gasp was audible. Phones buzzed with social media posts. The story was already spreading across Manhattan's social networks. Mom collapsed into the chair behind the podium, her face drained of color, her carefully constructed world crumbling in real time. Marcus tried to reach her, but security stepped between them. "Sir, you're named in the complaint as well." I stood in the back of that ballroom, surrounded by the city's elite, watching my family discover what consequences looked like when delivered with precision instead of mercy. A single tear rolled down my cheek, not from sadness but from the overwhelming relief of finally being heard. Justice doesn't always come from courtrooms. Sometimes it comes from daughters who refuse to disappear. The legal machinery ground forward with the relentless precision of justice finally awakened. In the 3 weeks following that ballroom confrontation, I watched my family's carefully constructed world collapse like a house of cards in a Manhattan windstorm. The evidence was airtight: 43 minutes of recorded conversations, bank trails showing forged signatures, official documents revealing a conspiracy that stretched back months. Emma's legal team had built a case so thorough, so documented, so irrefutable that even the best defense attorneys in the city advised immediate plea bargains. Marcus lost his consulting contracts within days. Word spread quickly through Manhattan's business networks. Nobody wanted to work with a man who'd tried to institutionalize his own mother for profit. His reputation, built over 15 years of networking and schmoozing, evaporated like morning mist. The family home, my home, was sealed for investigation. Yellow tape across the front door like a crime scene, which, legally speaking, it was. Neighbors gathered on the sidewalk, whispering behind cupped hands about the nice family who'd turned out to be anything but. Mom's social invitations dried up overnight. The charity boards quietly removed her name from committees. The fundraising events that had once showcased her generosity now wanted nothing to do with a woman facing elder abuse charges. I sat in Emma's office, signing affidavit after affidavit, watching through her windows as autumn settled over Central Park. The trees were changing colors, gold and red and burnished orange, like nature's own celebration of transformation. "The district attorney wants to make an example," Emma told me, sliding another document across her desk. "Elder abuse is epidemic in this city. Your case could change how prosecutors handle family fraud." My phone buzzed constantly, vindictive voicemails from Marcus, accusing me of destroying the family. Threats from Dad, warning that I'd regret tearing us apart. But interspersed with their anger came messages of support. Friends who'd suspected something was wrong, neighbors who'd noticed the tension. Even strangers who'd read Sarah Chen's article and wanted to share their own stories of family betrayal and survival. The montage of their downfall played out over weeks like a slow-motion avalanche. Marcus's business plaque removed from his office building. Mom's framed photo disappearing from the charity newsletters. Their usual Sunday pew at St. Patrick's sitting conspicuously empty, while the congregation whispered about what happened to the Matthews family. The final text came on a Thursday evening as I sat in my reclaimed living room, exactly where this nightmare had begun 6 weeks earlier. Marcus, you ruined us. I hope you're proud of destroying your own family. I stared at the message for a long moment, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. 6 weeks ago, those words would have shattered me. Would have sent me spiraling into guilt and second-guessing and desperate attempts to repair relationships that were built on lies. Now they just looked pathetic. I didn't reply to Marcus. Instead, I opened a new message and typed, to Manhattan Elder Support Group. Subject, offering support. Message, my name is Lillian Matthews. I recently survived a family conspiracy to steal my home and have me declared incompetent. If anyone needs someone who understands, I'm here to listen. I hit send. The house felt different now. Not empty, but peaceful. The silence wasn't oppressive anymore, it was mine. Chosen. Earned through 58 years of learning the hard way that love without respect is just performance art. I made myself a cup of tea, real tea, not the herbal stuff Mom had insisted was better for my nerves, and sat by the window I'd installed when I first bought this place. The city hummed beyond the glass, 8 million people navigating their own complicated families, their own difficult choices, their own moments of deciding between loyalty and self-preservation. Somewhere out there, Marcus was facing the consequences of treating his mother like a commodity. Mom was discovering what happens when you mistake manipulation for love. Dad was learning that silent complicity still counts as betrayal. But here, in the house I'd fought to keep, surrounded by the life I'd refused to surrender, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. Real peace. The kind that comes not from avoiding conflict, but from surviving it with your dignity intact. I used to believe that family meant everything, that blood was thicker than water, that love conquered all, that sacrifice was always noble. Now I know better. I know that family is what you build, not what you inherit. That respect matters more than biology. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's worst impulses. And sometimes, justice doesn't look like forgiveness. Sometimes it looks like truth, finally spoken in a voice that refuses to be silenced. The courthouse steps felt different beneath my feet 3 months later. Not the shaky uncertainty of someone fighting for survival, but the steady confidence of someone who'd already won the war that mattered most, the battle for truth. Judge Patricia Martinez had ruled swiftly and decisively. The transfers were frozen permanently. The forged documents were declared void. The house remained mine, legally and morally. Marcus faced 18 months for elder abuse conspiracy. Mom received 2 years probation and court-ordered restitution of $127,000 every penny she'd tried to steal, plus interest. But walking back into my brownstone that October afternoon, I realized the real victory wasn't in the courtroom. It was in the silence that greeted me, not the oppressive quiet of people plotting against me, but the peaceful hush of a home that was truly mine again. I moved through rooms that felt both familiar and transformed. The dining room where they delivered my birthday eviction notice, the kitchen where I'd discovered their texts, the study where I'd found the forged documents. Each space had been a battlefield. Now they were just rooms again, waiting to be filled with whatever life I chose to build. I found the old skeleton key in the junk drawer, the one from Grandma Rose's house, the one I'd kept as a memento. I hung it on a nail by the front door, a reminder that some things can't be stolen. Dignity, truth, the knowledge that you fought for what was right. Justice didn't feel like fireworks. It felt like the quiet of my front door unlocking after a long trip. But the lock wasn't the same, I wasn't the same. The mailbox held the usual bills and catalogs, but tucked between them was a handwritten note from Mrs. Chen next door. You did what you had to do. Some of us have been waiting years for someone to have that kind of courage. Courage. I'd never thought of it that way. It had felt more like survival, like finally choosing myself after 5 decades of choosing everyone else. Later that evening, as Manhattan settled into its autumn rhythm outside my windows, I sat with the charity invitation that had arrived that morning. The The Central Park Conservancy's holiday fundraiser, Mom's old crowd, reaching out with careful politeness, perhaps wondering if I'd become vindictive, if I'd poisoned their social circles with ugly truths about family betrayal. I held the invitation for a long moment, considering mercy as my final act. Not for them, they'd shown their true colors when they'd watched my public humiliation without question. But for me, the choice between carrying anger or choosing peace. The birthday card from that terrible night sat on my coffee table, edges worn from handling. I picked it up, reading their hollow words one last time. To our beloved daughter, with gratitude for all you've given us. Beloved daughter, the phrase that had once meant everything and turned out to mean nothing at all. I walked to my bedroom closet and pulled out a shoebox empty except for tissue paper and the faint smell of new shoes. I placed the card inside, then wrote on the box in careful script, things I thought were mine. Not just the gratitude, the love, the assumption that family meant forever, that sacrifice guaranteed loyalty, that giving everything would earn me a place that couldn't be stolen. I'd learned the difference between love and performance, between family and biology, between kindness and enabling. The hardest lesson, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to love someone who's destroying you. Never underestimate someone who has given you everything. They know exactly what it's worth and exactly what it costs to take it away. Greed can blind your eyes to everything except what you want to steal. But justice never sleeps, and truth has a way of surfacing when you least expect it. Some losses can never be recovered, the trust, the innocence, the belief that blood makes you safe. But truth always brings freedom, even when freedom looks like standing alone in a house that's finally, completely yours. As I placed the shoebox on my closet shelf, next to photo albums full of memories I now questioned, I felt something settle in my chest. Not happiness that would come later, but peace. The deep, unshakable peace of someone who'd survived betrayal and chosen truth over comfort, justice over family loyalty. I used to believe family meant unconditional love. Now I know better. Family isn't about sharing blood, it's about sharing honor. It's not about never leaving, it's about being worth staying for. And sometimes, the greatest gift you can give someone is the consequences they've earned. The city hummed beyond my windows. 8 million stories unfolding in apartments and brownstones, some marked by love, some by betrayal, all by the choices we make when we discover who people really are beneath the roles they play. I turned off the lights and climbed the stairs to my bedroom, my house, my rules, my peace. Tomorrow would bring new possibilities. Tonight brought the rarest gift of all, the knowledge that I'd fought for myself and won. Family isn't where you come from. It's where truth and respect live together under the same roof. And justice? Justice feels like coming home to yourself.